So I forgot to go ahead and make video one, but that's kind of a lie. I have outtakes that I'm going to post with this because it took me. Yeah, I want these videos to be raw, to be straight up. But yeah. So video one, just to give you a little introduction about me. I've been okay. I've been playing games probably since uh, literally since the first game that I ever played was RC Pro Am on Nintendo. I never forget. I walked into my cousin's house and there was something on the screen at the time, and he had the little Nintendo running pad. So I'm stepping on it, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the game, and I'm like, okay, the game ain't working. Like, what is this? Picked up the controller, and it's like, oh man, this is awesome. I was hooked on it ever since. After that, my father actually noticed that I was in the games, and he brung in the house a suitcase with like 3 Ataris and like 30 something games. And I was just popping the games in, playing them. Chopstick Man, Superman, or was it all the iterations of Galaga and Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, Pac-Man Jr., all of those. And I was just learning. On top of that, I kind of had a knack for drawing as well. So I was like drawing Superman and different characters like that. The Turtles, I was really into the Turtles when I was little. And so just that was like the starting point for me of finding out like what games is and all that. And I just kind of just kept going and going and going. I got a Super Nintendo. My little brother got a Game Boy, and I just kept going throughout the years. So um, I've always drawn, always played games with the game producer, with the structure of a game producer in mind. It's like every time I would play them, I would always be like, this could have been better. Like they could have done this, or why isn't this like this, or why doesn't that look like that? I've always done that. And it really wasn't until like literally a couple months now when I started school that hearing an actual game producer that's been in the industry for a long time talk, I'm like, I've always had that same thing in mind. I've always thought like that, you know. So it's pretty cool. It makes it really hard to enjoy a game sometimes to the maximum, you know, unless it's like a fighting game or something like that. But yeah, so ever since that time, I've always like wanted to create and wanted to like have stories and stuff like that. It really started hitting me when um let me see what games. There was a couple, but let me backtrack to when I really started like wanting to come out and then draw stuff. During the time period of like Metal Gear Solid 3 and Zone of Enders, and my friend of mine laughs because I love Zone of Enders. But it was during like the PlayStation 2 era where I really started like thinking about like game design and what it was. There was a game I redid, or not redid, but I drew characters out and remade a story for it. Red Faction. At the time, I didn't stay that far from Volition, and I didn't even know that at the time. But I wasn't far from that company at all, and I had drew like a whole new set of characters, the story, and like the first two maps and how I thought the game had went or should go. I was actually going to take it to him. I never took it though, but it was during that period where I started like really drawing characters and stuff like that, and like really like what is like trying to actually make a game. But I never went to school or nothing for it at that time because a lot of those things cost like exuberant amount of money. So zooming up to what was it, 2013, I started drawing characters again. I always had this fighting game I wanted to make in mind, and I started drawing characters again. And I ran into a new at the time, but a good friend of mine now, who was telling me to get a computer, make a computer. He was telling me about like um, Destiny and Titanfall and stuff like that. And I just was like, I don't need a computer because I got a console. I don't need a computer because I got a console. It's like I was totally off base about what I needed. And and then Unreal Engine was going to be announced as free. So I was like, okay. if that's going to be, well, it was with a subscription at the time. I'm like, wow. Well, back in the day, those things used to cost 30, thousands of dollars. So I'm like, okay, if that's going to be free, then shoot, all I would need to do now is make a computer that can run it. And so that's what I did. I started buying different parts that I needed for the computer and found out how to put the thing together. And I made my first computer at that time. And downloaded, well, before I even had made the computer, I had started reading up on the documentation about Unreal Engine and just started going from there. And was just learning and started making like little prototypes about different games and stuff. And started learning Blender, which is the free 3D software program for those who don't know. Started learning about really those two together. And I also had got iClone and Substance Painter, which I don't use as much as I should today. But basically Unreal Engine and Blender. And I started learning, okay, you have the engine and then you have the assets. So I'm just learning about all these things. Funny thing is I thought you can turn your console into a dev kit, but that's for like when you have a game and you want to put it on it. When I was finding out about how to actually make a game, I thought you can actually use the console to make the game with. So on the Xbox, One menu, if you press, I think it's LR. Yeah, if you press LR or RLR, I think it's LR. If you do that, I think twice, it'll turn into a dev kit. And I'm thinking I could have used that to make a game with. But anyway, yeah, so had started making a computer, then ever since then I went off with that. So I've been doing it now for about 5 years. I don't you have to like work and everything else too as you're doing this. So it's like I know about each different part, but I'm not like a master at each different part. And that's my personal goal to get to. It's like I want to get to the point where I get a game out, I got more time, and I can start learning about each different part. Like there's YouTube videos on like building, programming Unreal Engine from the ground up. Like I want to do that. Like I want to learn that from the ground up. Learn, Blender from the ground up, learn art from the ground up, just different parts of it to really get good. So that is one thing I got to say, or besides learning about a little bit of my background, if you can take something from this video, take that, is whatever you're learning at, especially if you got more than one person helping you or you got a little team together, try to learn what you're doing from the ground up. It doesn't seem like you should sometimes. It's like a waste of time, but learn how it came up, learn the mind of the person who first started developing it or making it, work your way up from that. That way you can have a solid basis. Not only you learn how to use the program, but you'll learn where it came from and the mindset of that individual so that you can carry that along with you and incorporate that and add that with what you know. Okay? So this is video 2. I think that's all for today. I'm gonna go ahead and get to work.